What up, people, and welcome to the book club with one mother, three sisters, and a whole lot of hot takes. This is the family plot. I'm Angel, the host and the heart of the crew, joined by Cam, our resident conspiracy theorist. Say hey, Cam.
Hey.
And our mama, Lisa, the matriarch and occasional voice of reason. Say hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
We are joined by Glenna, my sister-in-law, with the insightful takes. Say hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
All right, so here's how we get down. Each month, we discuss a book of our choosing. Every week, I'll share a brief summary of the chapters we've read, and then we each pick 2 discussion questions to answer. We'll also share our first impressions, predictions, and whatever else comes up along the way. So if any of that interests you, pull up a chair, pour some tea, and get cozy as we get into this month's book right here on the family plot, where every chapter digs deep. Y'all, I'm so excited for this month's book, Blood at the Root by Ladarrion Williams. First and foremost, can we get into the presentation? Look at this spine. Look at the magic. Look at how pretty this is.
Mine is not sprayed. I am jealous.
Did you get the hardback? Was that yeah, you got the hardback. Well, us paperback girlies, me and Glenna for sure got the pretty edges. Yes. Mom is on audiobook currently, but her hard copy will be coming soon. Either way, we are still moving forward in the chapters we've read. So, are y'all ready to get into the summary? I'm seeing a lot of this. So hang on, y'all. Let me pull up our slides and we're going to get into it. Let me know y'all can see the screen. Okay. All right, so this week we're covering the prologue and the first 10 chapters, not 11. I did not get a chance to read through to chapter 11, but moving forward. All right, so Malik, a boy marked by trauma and hidden power, first awakens his magic at 7 years old when he witnesses hooded figures attacking his mother, whose fate remains uncertain. A decade later, 17-year-old Malik escapes foster care with his younger foster brother, Tay, determined to protect him from the abuse they've endured. Along the way, Malik's unstable powers draw the attention of Bawan Samedi, a mysterious figure tied to Haitian voodoo, who pushes him towards his estranged grandmother, Mama Aya. In Louisiana, Mama Aya urges Malik to embrace his magical inheritance and attend Cayman University, a school steeped in Black cultural history and mystical traditions. Though resentful of the family who seemingly abandoned him, Malik agrees, hoping to find answers about his mother's disappearance. At Cayman, he reunites with Alexis, a childhood friend turned activist, and begins to uncover disturbing visions and secrets tied to the Haitian Revolution, the return of the feared Bokors, and the possibility that his mother is still alive. Malik is caught between past trauma, newfound family, and the heavy responsibility of magic that could either protect or destroy. Baby, we got to get into it. First impressions. Pam, why don't you go first?
This is a school that I would have wanted to go to. Yeah, it's giving HAMU, like from TikTok, Hogwarts Agricultural and Magical University, a school I would have happily attended. And I love all parts of it. I love that its structure is based in what real HBCUs look like. It's community-based, it's family-based, it celebrates African-American culture. There's classes that dive into African-American culture. There's classes that dive into African culture and Haitian culture. Like, they cover the whole diaspora in history and magic, which is really, really cool. And they had that one little professor who taking folks on trips in the middle of class. I was here for it. That was pretty cool. So I was really loving that. And I also really love his relationship with Tay, because it's hard to find those lasting connections when your livelihood is uncertain. And because he was a foster kid and there was a lot of moving around, he didn't really get to have those stronghold relationships until he met Alexis. And then when Alexis left, he was kind of moving through the motions until he got Tay. And he felt this overwhelming urge to protect Tay. And I thought that was really nice, because he just needed one little piece of consistency. And Tay provided him that consistency. So when he got down to Louisiana and met his grandma, I understood the anger and the uncertainty, because estranged is the word. Because he was, well, why, if you knew all this was going on, why didn't you come get me? Why didn't you find me? And it was just a lot of whys. As I imagine it is with all foster children, there's always a lot of whys, especially when you reach his age and are like, okay, so why you here now? I needed you back then. I'm basically an adult. What is this? Like, I get it. I understood. Like, thankfully, we've never been put in a situation where we had to be taken away from our solid parent. Oh, solid parent right there. And I was very fortunate to have multiple parents throughout the years, whether it's a step parent or a school parent or, parent. So I really, although I don't know what he's feeling, I can really sympathize, because I know there are a lot of people going through that same thing who don't have that. So I was very impressed with the way that the author was able to get across his entire range of emotions through all of his different situations. And with that, I yield.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Mother, your first impressions, please.
How long we got? Nah, just teasing. Um, First, let me say I really appreciated having a book where there was a male hero, or a masculine main character in the sorts. They're not that we normally don't read them, but normally a book of this caliber is surrounded by a girl who is experiencing all these things. They never really tap into the man, even though they're male main characters in books. It's always a female heroine or a female, And so to see the flip side of that, and to be able to dig into recognizing that guys have some of them same feelings that the girls having, it was real nice. That was a real nice change. And I think the author's note kind of set it off, is that, hey, we go through stuff too, basically. And since we don't have that it's not put out there what we go through, then that's why I'm here. I need to put it out here. This is something we experience. And it's not an old book. This is fairly new. He's talking in 1900s. This is fairly new. He's not an old author. He's a fairly young author. So there was another very refreshing note to note that you still have young adults who are out here putting out good work. The other thing, I think I relate to this boy a little bit too much. Quite a few things. Let's dig into that. It was that the feeling of isolation within your own family, and literally it was just he and his mom. So he felt very much isolated in terms of having other family, because to his knowledge he didn't have none. and his family was the community. He referenced back Auntie somebody going to church or something to that nature, and that was one of the ladies in the community. And so it lets you know that his family was built within the community, which is something I know I did for my children, because I was isolated and I didn't want my children to feel that way. So we had a village. And so I get having those community connections because you don't have that initial biological connection nearby. So I connected on that level. Also, having to unravel your personal history in order to get some understanding of who you are. I think I could be the grown poster child for that, based on the fact that I had to unravel my stuff at age so yeah, I didn't get that information of who my real people was until after I was grown and had children. So I relate to him struggling with finding out, oh, I do have people. And you know, I feel alone because I feel isolated. And then to come to find out, in his case, 10 years later, in mine, 40 years later, but that there's another side to me that's still out here living and breathing. I relate. I'm with him. I also really enjoyed the fact that in his transition to Cayman, he was able to reunite with someone he was familiar with back from home, where he grew up. And that, what was that? What was my other note? And then, and the other thing was, I really enjoyed, and I want to get some more into these little historical journeys that the teacher is taking them on. Very vivid, very live. I'm so in love with the details. Baby, the details. I said, I was clutching my pearls just listening to him describe what was going on, because he was right there. I love that they actually put him physically, part of their magical history is putting them in the history. So you get firsthand visual, auditory knowledge of what's going on, and so he could understand. And I think that's going to help propel him in truly finding out what he's trying to find out. So I understood this character in terms of understanding his past struggles and then striving to find out all the things that he did not have knowledge of that makes him who he is. So that creates this being he is now, and why he thinks, feels, believes, and all that. I really understood that, having all of that. I think the collection of having to create a family and community, having to learn about family you didn't know existed, and the feelings of isolation, and who is you and where you been for the last umpteen, I'm here with the brother. I'm here with the brother. And like I said, and then to get into this whole new world and unraveling this whole new set of skills I got, and I got to go to a whole new world to develop it, and then to be thrust into all of this newfound descriptive knowledge. I'm here for it. I really am here for it. But like I said, I really related to this character, and he ain't even halfway on his journey. I like him already because I feel some of me in him, just with his internal struggle alone, and him trying to find his identity in the purpose of trying to harness his powers. So I'm really ready for the rest of this, because I was thoroughly enjoying the beginning and I loved the intake. So yeah. My first impression is I'm ready for it. And with that, I yield.
Yes, good stuff, Mom. Good stuff. So many good connections and parallels to our regular lives. Glenna, first impressions, please, ma'am.
First off, because I'm reading both the physical and listening to the audio, I do have to say that I absolutely adore the actor for the audio. Because the transitions between different accents, his pacing, there's a lot of audiobook readers where it's difficult to speed up the volume, not the volume, the speed of how fast they read, because you still can't quite understand them. It doesn't matter what speed I've put this guy on. I can clearly understand everything he says, and it's absolutely delightful. And the transition, he going from one line to the other, from one character to another, in different accents and different inflections have been absolutely perfect and spot on. So I think that's awesome. As far as the story is concerned, for somebody who has very little context in what we're reading, I love the subtle context clues in the chapters and in what I'm reading. I'm not having to go look things up for the most part. I'm understanding the references, I'm understanding the scope, I'm understanding, where, the vision is coming from. So I really have been enjoying that. And this is an interesting journey, and I'm looking forward to it. And with that, I yield.
Yes, love, love, love it, ladies. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying this book. This has been on my TBR list for quite some time. I'm glad we get to go through it together. My first impressions are I got a good 6. And I'm gonna run through with y'all real quick. So first, this is our first Black male author that we have encountered since we've started this club. And much like yourself, Mom, I'm glad to hear that similar struggles that we read from our female heroines are faced by our Black male heroines. I also read the author's note, and it felt like such a warm hug. Like I'm sitting here talking with my cousin, and it feels so empowering to be seen in that way, because when I read some of these sayings, it's like, oh, that's how I would say that. If I could put my first impressions into one word or one sentence, it would be, if you have your Bibles, turn with me to page 114. It would be the very first sentence on page 114. That would encompass my entire first impressions. And it says, and I read, it's a whole lot of witchcraft and niggatry in this bitch. That is my first impression. And that's, in a nutshell, that is how I feel about these first 10 chapters. Now, I also feel like the audiobook, the narrator is doing the dang thing. The way he switches from Southern slang, Southern Black American slang, to Haitian French, to it's beautiful to hear. It's empowering to read. I love everything about this book. I love the world building, from the descriptions in the hood. I could smell the mac and cheese when I was reading it. Like I could hear the fraternities and sororities on the quad at Cayman University. I could feel the power of the tribes as Alexis was naming all of them and where they're from and what they specialize in. It was so intricate and so cool to make these connections. Child, I even felt a little tug of familiarity when we go from Alabama, Helena, Alabama, to Louisiana, to where his grandmother is. As soon as he mentioned the bottles hanging from the tree, I'm like, oh, this about to be that type of book. Okay, I'm here for the ride. When we get into the Haitian voodoo, I'm like, oh, we there. Okay. When we get into the rich cultural representation, the slang, the descriptions of how certain characters' braids are, about how certain even the non-binary characters, how they present themselves and how they speak. I'm just like, it's literally like an experience of me going away to school is just a couple pages away, and I'm just mad it ain't a movie yet, because I'd be tuning in. Mom, one thing you said about Malik finding family in his community, in his hood, it reminded me of a phrase that people throw around all the time, that blood is thicker than water. Well, what people don't remember is that the original phrase is that the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, meaning that it's not necessarily that your familiar bonds are stronger than your friendship bonds. In reality, the bonds of your shared experience can sometimes be more significant than the bonds you share with people you have DNA with. And I have seen that in our personal lives, in the village that you have created for us and other adults who were charged with our care. I've seen that in this book, and I'm so glad that we get to go with Malik on this journey. And with that, I yield on my first impressions. Thank you guys. They're snapping and clapping on their screens. You can't see it because they're on mute, but yes, here for it. Are we ready to get into these questions, ladies? All right. So we have, okay, forgive me. I didn't have no catchy titles for the questions this time because I literally just finished reading chapter 10. But what we got is family and belonging, power and control, heritage and identity, trust and betrayal, history and memory, justice and injustice, good versus evil, and legacy and choice. Mother, why don't you go first and pick your first question of the night?
Girl, these are all good because this is the book right here. Let's start from the top.
All right, family and belonging. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Malik struggles with abandonment from both his foster parents and his magical family. How does his bond with Tay shape his choices? And what does it say about where Malik believes true family comes from?
I think you just hit that on the head. You just said it. The blood is thicker than water, referring to the blood covenant. So his bond with Tay, well, let's identify number one. They connected because of their shared experience. They are both in foster care. And yes, he was removed from one foster family. But then, and he even recognized himself. The foster families he dealt with were afraid of him because of the rumored him murdering his mom. So he already was isolated in that and did not have connection truly until he got into the foster home with Tay. And that with that shared experience with Tay, and I think the fact that Tay was medically in need and just needed support gave him something to strive for. He identified with Tay and chose him to be his younger brother because they, at this point, they're in similar experiences. Tay needs somebody, he needs somebody, and that's where their bond came about. And in doing that, in calling him brother, because let's be real, he grew up a single child, but identifying Tay as brother gave him sense of purpose. It gave him a family connection, and it gave him something to work toward and strive toward. I really feel like that also gave him an opportunity to forget the tragic following he has, because he has been deemed as the kid that killed his mother when he didn't do a thing, and nobody believed him. So Tay, who did not judge him but actually revered him because of his abilities, and he said watching him, whenever he got to see him utilize his magic, gave Tay a sense of what a sense of security. He didn't use the word security, but in so many words, he felt safe, and he loved to see Malik do it because it seemed like it put Malik in a different space. He enjoyed singing it from Malik, and he, felt secured and protected. And that was something that Malik drew toward, I think. The fact that he had medical needs was another reason that Tay felt so strongly about protecting this kid, because this kid saw value in him. He connected with that, and so in that case, he felt, well, all the family I know is gone, so this is now my family. He ain't got nobody, I ain't got nobody. We're gonna be that for each other. He's comforted by me, I'm comforted by him, and that's the connection, that's the bond that keeps him truly sticking to Tay and wanting to protect him. And it also drove his choicing to want to eliminate the foster care necessity for Tay, which is why he said he went in saying, hey, I went to school. I did what I needed to do so I can get straight A's, so I could graduate and get out of there and emancipate myself from the system so that I can come and get Tay. His whole focus. So he reshaped everything he had been doing so that he could be there and stand in the gate and be the protector for this young man that he chose as his sibling. So, like you said initially, it's not about the blood or the blood connection. It's about your heart's posture. It's about the covenant that you choose to take with a person. It's like a marriage. I choose you, you choose me. We chose each other, and we sticking with it. That's the covenant that they made with one another. They decided they were going to be brothers, and they sticking with brothers. Even after he found out he had biological family, he still, to the ends of the earth, will do everything he could for this young boy. He stole a car to go get him. uh he set out to hurt the person that hurt him. He was going crazy trying to get him medication, to get him covered, to get him medical support. So this is his family, this is his choice, this is the chosen family. And everything he does at this point, even before leaving for Camu, he was like, wait a minute. He didn't feel comfortable about leaving Tay, but he was like, are you gonna be okay? Make sure you pick up this phone, call me if I need to come back. His whole focus is about making sure his brother is okay, because he only agreed to go with Uncle Sam because he said, oh yeah, we can take care of him, we got him. And the fact that he was like, okay, I'm staying around, because he was still dead set on leaving, going to California. I'm gonna stick here if y'all can help him. And they said, oh yeah, we can take care of him. We can give him this. He gonna be fine. It ain't gonna cure it ain't gonna cure his disease, but he won't suffer. And he will be, he will be better. So every move he made from the time he stole that car to get to his brother has been because of the brother. And now that he has the opportunity to find out about mom, he's still trying to find it, but he's still doing it under the guise of, I'm worried about my little brother. I need to make sure he's okay. So that lets you know, as much as he's curious about what happened to his mama, he still is not willing to forsake Tay in any of this. He still is holding true to the fact that this is my family, because I don't know these other people. And he made that very clear when they had that impromptu reunion for him. He's like, I don't know y'all. And he made it very clear. Everybody, he wasn't in that place where he was accepting of that yet, because the only thing he knew was this child he had created this bond with, because nobody else, even though they knew he existed, came for him when their mother was no longer present. And you say, what does it say about him? He believes commitment is greater than blood. In terms of relationships, it's who you commit to is what matters. It's just like when you take that marriage covenant, cleave to your husband and wife. You got to walk away from mom and daddy because you've made this commitment, and he's made that commitment with Tay, which is why he's moving for the benefit of not just him but for his little brother. And with that, I yield.
Love it. Love, love, love it, Mom. Yes, good stuff. Thank you for such a thorough and detailed assessment. Cam, which will be your first question of the night?
Heritage and identity.
Heritage and identity. Hammond University is described as a place rich in Black culture and ancestral memory. How does Malik's introduction to this environment affect his sense of identity after years of isolation and foster care?
It's like he got hit by a truck. He don't know who he is no more. He knows who he thought he was. He knows that he has this thing going on with him that he's tried to suppress all these years. But this entire time, there's been a place that he could have been throughout his entire life, because we find out through this that they have training schools for younger kids. They have a middle-aged training school in another area. And then there's the college version here, because they believe there was I believe they mentioned a school for younger kids that was like up in New York or something. And it's like every time he gets a new piece of information, it's like a slap in the face, a punch to the gut, being ran over by a truck. Because it's almost like, where has this been all this time? And they mentioned something about how it's his fear that's suppressing his magic. And he keeps saying, oh no, it's not. I'm not scared of nothing. But if you think back to the very beginning, he kept saying how he was scared of what was happening in his body. Every time the magic started to flare up in his fingers, he would close his hand. And even when it came down to him stealing the car, he was like, okay, I don't really want to, but this is what I got to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I'm just going to hope we don't all blow up. And I mean, that's real, but that's because he's had it. He unlocked it at 7 years old. And 10 years later, he suppressed it because he believes that he killed his mother, because that's what everybody is telling him. And he's scared of it. So he keeps saying, well, I'm not scared of nothing. Not true. You're scared of what you're capable of, which is why you can't use it, because you're not practicing with it, because you're terrified of it. And the second he got on that campus, he was like, there goes that feeling again. I don't like it. There goes that feeling again. So he has to basically build who he is from the ground up. Because all of these people that should have been in his life from jump, grandma, aunties, cousins, you coming in when he's basically an adult, he knows nothing. So he literally has to figure out who he is from the very beginning. And that's very hard for him. And now he's at this school trying to figure out what happened to his mom. Who are these people that was in their apartment? There's so many questions, and he's not getting answers as fast as he is coming up with questions. So he's having a really hard time. And in that same time, trying to navigate some very big feelings over a girl who ain't looking at him that ain't more than a friend, who has a real douche of a boyfriend. Because I don't like nobody right now, is him. Get on my nerves. Just a dick.
Said they was just friends.
No. The boy, she said they was just friends.
Mm-hmm.
And ain't thinking they friends.
I don't know what the man problem is, but she
I
said,
have a theory. It's very early, but I have a theory because he was playing devil's advocate for Bane magic for a good long time. So I feel as though he might be related to one of the, what they call him, start with a B.
because
Yeah, I think he might be one. And if he's not one himself, then he is either closely related or descended from one. Because I know we all like to play devil's advocate every now and again in here, but that man was sitting on the throne of hell if anybody had anything to do with it, because it was very much given, well, they saying this, but I don't think that's what it is. Well, then what is it? Because you're not giving no real solutions as to what is possibly going on here. And I'm not feeling it. Because what you mad at me for? I just got here. And I know I wasn't supposed to be here, but I'm here. You mad? They talking about my grandma. I don't even know my grandma. Why are we upset? He had like a real, and he got progressively more and more upset the more they was talking about Mama Aya. Like, why are you so mad? And her one shining accomplishment is that she kicked them people's tail. And the more we talking about it, the more upset you're getting. And then, oh, don't let her volunteer to take him home. Now we just got all our little tidy whities in a bunch. What's the problem? We're all grown here.
yes, the character in question, Danye, as the
And
audio.
see, it's a bitch name. He's a bitch nigga. That's what it is.
He's definitely got some eclectic tendencies. That's what I call it.
I'm a abbreviate. He a BN. That's what he is. I wasn't messing with it, but it's just really interesting having to watch Malik, because in all his isolation, he has had to be his own person, and he's had to do some not so great things to be able to survive in what he thought was the real world. And now, as a young adult, is having to rebuild everything he knows from the ground up. And in a world where he was okay suppressing his magic, he's now thrust into a new world where he's being forced to use it. You either use it or you get expelled. And he can't get expelled because then he doesn't find out anything about his mom. So it's about to be a lot. And considering how far into this book we are already after just a week, it's about to be a lot of character development real extra fast. And I'm here for it. I don't know if it's mentioned in any of the other questions, but there was a conversation between Malik and Alexis about the different tribes. And I really want to know who he about to go to. I really, really want to know.
So Cam, I think I mentioned this to you shortly before we started recording. I do have a chart because I had to get it straight from myself. Who's who, where they at, what they specializing in. So thus far, what has been mentioned is the Kwasan tribe, which is the main folks, the people who give money and magic to Cami University. Then there is the Oasis tribe. They are at a sister school over in Europe, presumably the UK. They are the direct descendants of Moors, literal kings and queens. Then we got the Domingo tribe in the Caribbean. They practice both Christianity and voodoo, where they use psalms as the spells. And then there's Santeria for the Latino community in the arena. Then there's the Mohani tribe. I'm assuming it's African because it's listed as the oldest, and they are at a Ganju University. It sounds African to me, so that's what I'm running with. And then we have the Bokors. I'm not sure if they're an actual tribe or just a group of practitioners, but what was discussed was that there's two types of practitioners, ones that are chosen by the spirits, and the Bakors are not. Instead, they take their magic by force. And they practice both good and evil magic. And they are a subgroup, or there is a subgroup within the Bakors that practices dark magic and did so to win the Haitian Revolutionary War.
Mhm.
But because they did that, they were punished by a goddess.
So what I want to know,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know a few things, because while they were also having this conversation, she talked a lot about the different sororities and fraternities. Yes, Lena.
The Aganju University is off the coast of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was right. Okay, yay.
And the prep school for the gifted isn't in New York. It's in New Elm, Alabama.
Ah, okay.
Sorry. I was skimming that chapter when
Yeah.
it happened.
What
It
chapter
works.
is that?
It is when he's getting the tour of the campus.
Okay.
So it's chapter 7.
Okay. I was a little too far ahead then. So they were also talking about the different sororities and fraternities that align with different deities, and they didn't specifically say that they were deities, but the names sounded very familiar, because in this book, Children of Blood and Bone, those very same deities were connected to magi clans. And so each of those deities were responsible for a different thing. And so I was wondering, like, as we go through, will he find himself aligned with, you know, one of those areas, or will he be aligned with the tribe? Or if not, is it because Mama Aya herself is, you know, the leader of a tribe that we just don't talk about? Got a lot of questions here. But some of those names that they mentioned, she said Oya was in there, Sango was in there, and there was a third one. Why is there balloons on my screen? I don't know. But those were a couple of the names that I heard, and I was immediately like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Oh, Sango, I know who that is. But they weren't referring to them necessarily as deities, but the sororities and fraternities on the campus were aligned with those people. And that made sense to me, because in this other book, the Magi's are magical beings, like they are magical people. So I thought that was really interesting. So I had to pull this one back out so I could go back through and see, you know, what things that the deities were responsible for. Because like Oya was the magi of life and death. And I was like, oh, we judging lives in the sorority? We killing folks?
First of all, I just love when we get books that make us pick up other books to reference and understand.
Girl, because I was listening to it at that point while I was eating lunch, and I'm like, oh yeah, that lady over death. Why we got a sorority about death? What's going on here? And then Sango, he was the magi of fire. I'm like, all right, so we burning people? We burning stuff up? What's going on? Is these the people who lighten the leaves on the lawn? I don't want to know. Yes, Glenna.
I just want to state that talking about the kind of sororities makes sense that they're aligned with gods and deities, because even, at least as far as I'm aware in my experience, sororities and fraternities of the Greek nature in our university systems are always aligned with or have a totem of a specific mythological person from Greek history.
I didn't know that.
Because the one I belong to, our focus is Hygeia, which is part of medicine and healing.
I didn't realize that.
It's not everyone, but I know a majority of them do. So that actually makes a lot of logical sense that they would structure these organizations in the book in a similar capacity. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I love it. I think if I'm not mistaken, there was 12. There was 12 magi clans, so there was the 12 deities and the things that they were over. And they only mentioned like 3 in the book, but that made me think, I wonder if there's more like around campus that are aligned with these different things. And I just love the fact that they are Black. I'm not even gonna lie, because in school we're taught about the Greeks and the Romans more than we're taught about the Egyptians. And these aren't Egyptian in any nature, but they do come from Africa. So I love it, and I love the references. I love that I had to get up and go pull it off the bookshelf just for me to look at. And I'm looking forward to more conversations, but I'm also really looking forward to his character development, because there's about to be a lot of stuff that goes down as far as his identity is concerned. Because every time you look around, it's like, oh, well, I don't need this. I don't need this. I know who I am. No, you don't. Because if you knew who you were, you wouldn't be at the school to begin with. So, I yield.
Yes, Cam. Good stuff. Good stuff. I think this man's pen is unmatched, because the overarching theme here is that I don't mind. You're on. Okay, I don't know what that's about. But the overall theme here that I'm getting is that there is so much power, not even in magic, but in knowing who the heck you are and where you come from. There is an unmatched feeling that Malik described just hearing his classmates talk about all of these structures and social standings that he has no knowledge of, and he did feel that he had missed out on so much. Being isolated is one thing, but having no knowledge of where you come from and no knowledge of what you can do is the whole other type of being isolated. So good points, Cam. Love that. Glenna, what will your first question of the evening be, ma'am? I know it's hard. It's a lot of good ones.
You know what? Power and control.
Power and control. Malik often loses control of his magic when he's angry or afraid. How does this mirror real struggles with managing emotions, especially in the face of trauma or injustice?
Okay, because that's not a loaded question. I think it very I think it very closely mirrors reality and how people struggle with control when especially if they're victims of trauma. And this actually, the trauma that he has as a child, I actually wrote this down earlier, and I just want to throw this out there before I go further into this question. How in the world does a 7-year-old child get blamed for the death of one person when there are 3 bodies in the house? And the child says there was 5, there were 3 less. He's a 7-year-old child in a world that doesn't believe in magic. How in the world does that logic prevail? And I think the injustice, the severe injustice of that definitely has, a major impact on, especially in a formative age, definitely has an impact on how he sees the world and how he maintains his struggle. And then to continue to face similar struggles as he's growing up in the different areas of foster care, from abandonment when his first friend really leaves him, to, seeing somebody who he cares about struggle with his health and being placed into a abusive foster care situation. He just gets hit with trauma after trauma after trauma, and the fact that he has the level of control that he does is borderline miraculous. I think he's a lot, as a character, he's a lot more mature than I think his age due to his circumstances of life. He had to grow up very fast, very young in order to survive a very adult world that he was thrown into at the age of 7. And I think that he will continue to manage what he can, but he's navigating a world that he doesn't have any control over yet. And his control's going to slip because, like being a child again, he's having to learn to walk. He's having to learn to, exist in a space that he's never been in before. And I think he's going to struggle with that. And as typical with people who grow up in abusive situations, he's going to be with his head on a swivel and his on a hair trigger, at least until he settles into where he's at. So it's likely he's going to have more outbursts just out of simple self-preservation, if nothing else. But yeah. And with that, I yield.
Awesome stuff, ladies. Awesome stuff. I am so in love with this book thus far. I will start things off for me with trust and betrayal. Malik doesn't know who to trust. Mama Aya, Sam, even Chancellor Taryn. How do secrets and half-truths impact his growth as a character? Well, I feel like it's a double-edged sword. I feel like the secrets and half-truths, they hold him back and confuse him, which fuels his anger. Because they're giving him bits and pieces of the truth. And so that makes him feel even more isolated and mistrustful. So that confusion doesn't allow him to fully trust or embrace his magic. But at the same time, I feel like that type of secrecy is what's pushing him forward and trying to find the truth about what happened to his mom. And what role the Bakors played in the disappearance of his mom. I feel like half-truths and being really vague, as Mama Aya has been to him, only fuels his fear of abandonment at this point. Every secret that he comes up against is like confirming his suspicion that adults hide things from him and they don't see him as worthy or capable of holding on to the whole truth. I feel like even though they have their reasons for not revealing the whole truth and just giving him little bits and pieces, I feel like this is building his resiliency in a way, which also is helping him build his identity, because now he's in this new place. He got to literally figure out who he is. And I feel like it gives him the opportunity to define himself on his own terms with whatever limited bit of information he does have, instead of waiting for everybody else to explain it for him. Yeah. And with that, I yield. All right, ladies. We in our second round of questions now. This is where it gets a bit interesting. Cam, pick your second question of the night, ma'am.
You just be switching up the order, huh?
I
Because
do.
I wasn't ready at all.
Well, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So
You know what? Hush. What's the options left?
Um, the last 4 on the list are all left.
Last 4. Okay. Let's do history and memory.
History and memory. Through visions of the Haitian Revolution and his ancestors, Malik learns history in a visceral way. What does the novel suggest about the power of memory and ancestral connection in shaping the present?
I'm sorry, my mouth is numb. Okay.
Oh yeah, because you got your braces tightened today.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
What is analysis of the power of memory, ancestral connection? Oh, okay. I don't know if my answer is about to make any sense, but I'm gonna go for it anyway.
It's a safe space. Go for it.
It's so heavily at me. Okay, so it kind of showed me that kind of like with the Day of the Dead, as long as you remember, they'll never be forgotten. So with the Day of the Dead, you have your ofrenda. Everybody on the ofrenda gets remembered. Those are the people that cross over that come to see you on the day that you celebrate it. Very much so in the same vein, in this book, both in class and on the porch with Mama Aya, they go back in time through these memories to remember these people so that you never forget how you got to where you are. And it's kind of like, I don't know the exact words of the saying, but it basically says, the more you tell the story, the less they forget. So it's kind of a retention thing. So you could tell a story once and you'll pick up certain pieces. You tell it again to another person, they'll pick up a different set of pieces. You tell it a third time, they get a different set of pieces. And all the information is the same, but what the people remember might be different. And so then you can pull all of those different pieces together to make one story. So while they were in class, the professor was asking the questions. One person over here had a memory of the person in question. Another person over here had a memory of the events that took place, not necessarily the person, but of the events that took place. And so when everybody goes back in time to the memory, everybody knows what's happening, who we looking for, who we looking at, because everybody knows the story. Everybody might know different pieces of the story and provided different information, but nobody forgot because everybody was inputting the information. The same with Mama Aya. And at that point, it was just him and her. So now we had a direct descendant. And, now his people for the first time. And if it's not for Mama Aya, and the fact that she said, I'm not going to live forever. So after her, then who's going to be left to tell the story of her people, if not Malik? So, Glenna.
Well, the one question that I have, and correct me if I'm wrong. When they talk about the memory, the last thing we hear with him and seeing the rest of his classmates is them going off in one direction. They never touched whether everybody saw and experienced the same thing in the memory, or if his experience was unique.
It's implied that it was unique because everyone else was excited and hyped, and he was the only one that was visibly shaken.
Okay, because I missed that somehow.
It's at the end of the chapter.
Okay, I might have been in traffic at that point, so that might have been why I missed that. But yeah, I definitely think it's interesting in the memories and history of that he seems to be perceiving these things in a far more literal, visceral way when he steps into these memories. And the only person who doesn't seem to have a different expression, if what you said is true, is Mama Aya. And I wonder if his embracing of these events and memories is a family inherited trait. And so she doesn't blink because he's feeling it the way she does, or if there's a more fate-based reason as to why he's experiencing these specifically.
I think it might be inherited because in all the conversations around Mama Aya and everything, even when Chancellor Jerkface was talking about her and Professor McHottie was talking about her, that's going to be their names.
Okay, names, because I'm like, that was not in the book at all.
It's not their names at all. But the chancellor was very nasty to Malik, and the professor sounds hot. So anyway, they were talking about how yes, he's a conjurer, but his magic is ancient because his family's magic is ancient. And the only way for it to pass, because, and I can only say that because we currently don't know who his dad is. The only way that the magic would pass through him that way would be through Mama Aya. And she spoke about how when people pass away, you inherit their life force and all this other stuff. And that's how she's almost 200 years old at this point. She got her magic from her mama. Her mama got magic from somebody else. And now all of that is now living in her. And she passed some to her daughter, who then passed it to Malik.
Yeah. I also find it very interesting that as he was going through the last vision, and I don't know if this was in 10, but in the beginning of 11, so I apologize if I'm going a little ahead, when he was seeing his, essentially, I think, his grandfather, and no, great-grandfather, and she's like, oh, that's who that is. Like, she was right there with him.
I think that was in 10. But yeah, I think it's because of them that he's able to feel as strongly as he does, because the extension of magic that he has come through his grandmother, and she has been passed all of this magic and all of this life force from all of these different people, and everybody around him is referring to his power as power. Angel, you had a question?
I did want to piggyback off something you said about repetition and the stories never dying. It just reminded me of The Color Purple. We got The Color Purple, the book, the movie, and the Broadway musical. And to me, it feels like experiencing each of those forms of media is like the same town was visited by 3 different people who took away 3 very different experiences, but they met all the same characters. They went to all the same places. And for generations who maybe did not read the book but watched the movie, or watched the movie but didn't read the musical, or saw the musical only and didn't watch the movie, they still get the themes of that story passed on. So I really like that you brought that up, because it's so true. Repetition, however it comes, is what keeps churches going. It's what keeps libraries open, and it's what keeps the film industry moving. We gotta keep these stories alive however way we can. I mean, even the reason we have stories from Homer is because word of mouth. They was passing them stories down. So
now we got musicals coming out of that.
Hello.
Oh, epic.
And also, I do have a question. Who the daddy? Who is the pappy to Malik?
also have a theory.
You got theory? Okay.
I think it's the person that she was writing the letters to.
Oh.
Because who else you gonna beg for help? Because you can't go to your mama.
You right. You right. Okay, we'll stay tuned for that. Anybody else got anything to respond
I have
to?
a theory on that.
Come on, theories. We love it. Let's go.
I think whoever it is somebody that the chancellor despises.
Yes, I agree.
And I can't decide if it was because the chancellor wanted to be with his mother or if it's just they were adamantly different people.
Mm.
You know, like an arch nemesis of some kind at school.
I wonder, and it might be a little too on the nose, but I wonder if it's, hey, Professor Kamale, Professor McHottie.
Too young.
Calls him. Too young?
Yeah, because he describes him as just a little older. He describes him as my age or a little older.
I'm assuming his mother was around that same age because she left the school around what, like her early 20s or something like that. So
yeah, but that would put him in his 40s. But he indicated that the professor was like maybe at best like just out of college by a couple of years, kind of thing. He's too young.
Okay, well then scratch that. But yeah,
and that's Professor McHottie, ma'am.
It's, hey, Professor Kamale, how they say it on the Parkers, because that's how Ladarrion Williams described him in his pool with the female students. So that's what I'm gonna go with. Thank you. I do like.
I actually think it's the chancellor. To be honest, I think it's the chancellor, and the only reason it wouldn't be him, like Glenna said, is somebody he resents because he probably wanted to be with her and she chose somebody else. But I think it's the chancellor, and he stuck around to it, or he stuck around, or he came back to be the chancellor because he saw what could happen if you dwell into that was it what they call it, Bane magic, and how destructive it could actually be. And he was probably he probably was the person she was writing to, and he or if it was him, and he came back to the university to try to make sure no other students are doing it, which is why he's putting restrictions on them when things are happening. So I feel like if it was not him, it was somebody really close to him.
You know what, Mom? I would agree with that, but for a different reason. If you recall, ladies, Chancellor Bonclair's mother, Empress Bonclair, is the head of the Kwame tribe. And the Kwame tribe is in direct opposition to the Bokors in their philosophy about magic. Very Gryffindor versus Slytherin. And so, if there is something ancestral about the Bokors and Malik and his mother's bloodline, if they made it with the Kwame tribe and had a baby, it would make sense that the chancellor would resent Malik because it's a literal stain on his heritage at this point. I don't know though. We're gonna keep reading.
Keep reading.
All right. Anything else to add on this, ladies, before we go to the next question? No? All right. So that said, who next? Glenna. Second question of the night, ma'am.
Good versus evil.
Good versus evil. The Bokors are portrayed as a group of capable of both benevolent and destructive magic. How does this challenge the traditional good versus evil narrative often found in fantasy?
I think it's a more accurate representation of the human condition, because not every person that walks into a quote unquote bad group is inherently bad. Sometimes they're there because of the circumstances of their life, not necessarily because of them being inherently evil, because with the exception of a small percentage, I don't think a single person on this planet is inherently either 100% good or 100% evil. Everyone is a shade of gray in that regard. And I think that the portraying this group as having members who are benevolent is an accurate representation of reality. So it's something that always I found interesting about some of the magic systems I've seen in the past, of this spell or this ritual is inherently evil. Okay, yeah. When you're using it to destroy a person, absolutely. But there could be a legitimately good reason to use that same spell or ritual. Causing someone's death isn't always murder. Sometimes it's an act of mercy. And or it could simply be using the same situation to quickly euthanize an animal for the use of food. So there's intent matters. And I think if you're doing questionable things with good intent, while it's not great, it doesn't make you evil. The same as doing good things for the wrong reasons doesn't make you inherently good. And with that, I yield.
Yes, loving the insights there, Glenna. I would
Great answer.
I'll piggyback off of that and say, if you have your Bibles, turn with me to page 130, and you will see exactly what Glenna is talking about, where there are rumors of what the Bakors are capable of doing. In the middle of the page, it says, rumor has it that the Bakors could control and make zombies, and Mama Aya killed all of them using an Owanga, a powerful talisman. Get the fuck out of here, I say, laughing. Zombies? Wait a minute, they exist too? Like the Walking Dead type of zombies? Judging by the tense shift in the atmosphere, they not playing. Danye then interrupts. He's trying to set up the record straight here. He says, the Bakors are not zombies. They're more like enforcers, protect villages from sickness and war. During the Haitian Revolution, they did some dark magic to help win the war, pissed off some powerful beings. But all the Bakors wasn't bad. And some say Mama Aya didn't defeat all of them. Some people think they're still around, biding their time. And to that, I say, I wonder. I wonder if they are going to make a resurgence. And I wonder what they were doing that fits in this category that you just mentioned, Glenna. Are they doing bad things for a good reason, or good things for a not so great reason?
And with that statement of she didn't kill all of them or destroy all of them, what's to say that you didn't have the benevolent few who were doing what they thought was good over here off to the right, and all of the evil ones are destroyed? If your brethren are destroyed and you're left, I don't care how good you are, you might not stay that way.
That part. It's no different than Thanos' logic of, to protect the planet, we got to find a way to keep our resources from getting vanquished so quickly. Now I got to kill y'all. Like, well, not the best solution for the people who get to get unalived, but the intent is for good in a way. Child, don't listen to me. Mom, stop laughing at me. You can't. You can't see it, but she's over here cracking up, having a good old time at my expense. Okay. Glenda, are we yielding the floor?
We are.
Anyone else have any responses or piggybacks to Glenda before we move forward? No? Okay.
I just would like to say that statement right there is why I think she belonged to them people.
Oh, because Danye was trying to set the record straight.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. And especially with his growing annoyance and seeming rudeness to the group.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I really enjoyed how the group just be ignoring him and going on about their lives.
Wouldn't you?
Particularly Savon, our non-binary.
Savon might be one of my absolute favorite people in this book.
So Savon and Elijah are twins. The twin that is not flamboyantly but non-binary is more of like a jockey sports type, and I love that opposition in their dynamic. But Savon is like, anywho, girl. Yes, child. Oh, he cute. Like, yes, I'm about to go watch P Valley. And I love everything about that character because we know people just like he literally says in the book, he's trying to get to go see Uncle Clifford and them. And I'm like, wow, you really put all the things in the book. Yes.
To backtrack a second to what Cam said about is it Dion or
Danye.
Danye, my apologies. For that same reason, because it's never mentioned otherwise, then I wonder if Mama Aya was also one as well. Because what better way to destroy a group of people than from the inside when you see an injustice done?
Oh. Mm.
She said something there. She said something.
Coming with the insights, like the in-law she is.
That's tea.
Single time. What you say, Cam?
That's tea. That's heavy tea. Real hot piping tea. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
With the lemon on the side.
Mama, since I have you, why don't you go ahead and pick your second question of the night, girl?
I'm over here having a ball. Okay. So we got legacy and choice and justice and injustice. Is that where we at?
Correct.
I'll take legacy and choice.
Legacy and choice. Malik begins to realize he's tied to powerful ancestors and may be destined to confront the Bakors. Do you think Malik's journey is about fulfilling a legacy or forging a new path of his own?
Both. Let's call it what it is. We've already identified that he will be the story bearer for his bloodline after Mama Aya, because his mama, wherever she is in the creation, is not following in the path of those before her, or those who are in line with Mama Aya's belief system. So if there is any opportunity for the legacy of that family to continue, it's going to fall on Malik. But then, and that's fulfilling his legacy, but in doing so, he also has to forge a path for himself. Because right now he is without identity, without purpose. Well, prior to, and I'm not going to say truly without purpose, but his purpose was not ingrained in finding out who he truly was until he had come across Uncle Sam and realized there's more to me than me just being this kid out here that nobody's believing, nobody's trying to hear, and I'm just out here in the world by myself. So ideally, with these tidbits of information, he is trying to identify who he is so that he can form his own path. Part of that is, like Cam said, he had unraveled, he had been scared of this power within him for so long. Now that he know this is part of who he is, his heritage, and he's not some freak or whatever term he would deem himself, he doesn't have to be afraid of it because he can use it, and he has an opportunity to learn about it as well. So that in itself, him identifying his magic, how to harness it, how to use it correctly, for the benefit of not just him personally, but for, society in general, is going to be him forging his own path. But part of that, in him learning all of that, is ingrained in his legacy, because that's where he gets it from. He didn't just haphazardly stumble on it. Nobody, cursed him with it. This is actually part of his bloodline. This is his legacy. And that's what I say both. It's because it literally is both. Now, when he realized he might have to confront the Bokors, yeah. And I really like the analogy that Mama Aya may have been one. So yeah, and when you say she didn't destroy them all, like Glenda said, it could be because she was one and she knew how to destroy from within, or she believed that she just eradicated all those that were practicing and doing evil for just the sake of doing it, and in the hopes that those who were practicing the good magic were those that were retained, those that were protectors and things of that nature, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I really feel like his journey is connected. He won't be able to forge his own path without identifying and fulfilling his legacy. Now he may be able to identify it, but he may choose not to fulfill it, but it's going to be right there in his face. He won't be able to establish his journey without acknowledging his legacy. Whether he chooses to fulfill it or not is a whole nother story. And with that, I yield.
Ooh-wee. Yes, mother. It's heavy. It's heavy when you think about fulfilling legacies and living up to your potential. It's always a heavy theme whenever we come across it in any of these books. Okay, y'all. Last question of the night. Last question left. Justice and injustice. Alexis fights for missing girls who aren't considered valuable because they lack magical ability. How does this storyline parallel real-world issues of whose lives are seen as worthy of protection? Ooh. I'm gonna try not to get emotional about this one, but just as non-magical girls are dismissed in Malik's world, in our world, some communities, especially poor, Black, Indigenous, other marginalized groups, often don't receive the same urgency or resources when people go missing. I actually just saw a video yesterday about when Katrina hit, and there was a large number of Black and brown people who were left behind for days, while the helicopters that were sent to assist readily picked up the white people who were on the rooftops. And so to combat this, there was a general, I forgot the man's name, but he found a way to shuttle some of those Black people off the roof and get them to an area where they could be picked up, or at least in the way of supplies. And if I find it, I'll send it to y'all. But the fact that he had to do that in the first place when them same people was on the roofs as in the same amount of time as the white people who were also affected, it really just boiled my blood. And I'm reminded of that every time you hear things about disparities in healthcare and how there's still a perception being taught that Black and brown people have a higher pain tolerance than our white counterparts. But this novel in particular highlights the idea that power, whether it's magical power or wealth or race or status, but whatever it is, power often determines who gets protected, who gets believed, and who gets remembered. And Alexis deciding to step up to fight for the overlooked reflects real activists and community leaders who push back against these systems that devalue certain lives. So both in fiction and reality, this storyline forces us as the readers to ask, why are some people seen as less deserving of safety and justice? And more importantly, who benefits from that imbalance? So Alexis' fight becomes a way, I think, for us to spotlight real conversation about, you know, whose pain gets attention, whose stories are erased, and how justice, real justice, often depends on privilege. And with that, I yield.
You said a whole mouthful in a few seconds because that's real in real time. It's very real in this very real time. And I think, reading this brings all of those emotions into play. Because if you are from any of those marginalized groups, even though your group may not be being snatched, but you are being viewed as non-important enough to, or not worthy enough to be protected or to be to research, to go after. And that's a very real feeling in today's world. And it's not just the Black, like you say, it's multiple marginalized groups. So yeah, you did say it.
It's for this reason I'm so glad that Savan is a character, because he is a part of a marginalized group as well.
Exactly.
The entire queer community receives a different level of oppression and disregard, much the same as women, much the same as Black people, Latinx people.
That's also why I liked his roommate.
I don't think we got to his roommate yet.
You ain't at okay. Maybe
No,
that's
we
just me.
ain't 11 yet. We supposed to, but we ain't make it there yet.
I'm gonna let y'all read up on his roommate because you'll get a whole So you'll appreciate him too.
Well, now you're making me excited. But yes, that said, I enjoy Savan's character being present because he represents so many people like him who have been overlooked. Yeah, it's nice to read. Cam, I see you have a hand raised.
I had stepped away for a second, but I heard what you said. My polar dog over here is just miserable, so I had to handle that. But you did that. Drop the mic.
The mic has been dropped. Shoot, I'm just glad I ain't cried, because child, seeing that on Instagram, if I find it, I send it y'all's way. But the post itself was celebrating that man who did whatever was necessary to get them people off the roof and get them where they needed to be. But it also highlighted a greater issue that I didn't even know was a thing, because we ain't in New Orleans. So we would not have known about it. It's 10 plus years after Katrina and people are just finding this out. Infuriating is an understatement. But anywho, that's it for questions tonight, ladies. I want to know, what are your predictions for next week? What you think is gonna happen?
think he's gonna find out some very insightful things. I don't think he's gonna find out anything about his mom just yet because it's still kind of early in the book, but I think he'll find out some insightful things about the people his mom was around. So the chancellor, maybe some other classmates, maybe learn a little bit more about the breakdown in her relationship with Mama Aya. But I also think he'll probably start to learn more about the people he is getting close to. And I'm really hoping we get another lesson where we get to flash back somewhere because that was fun. Really like that. And I think that was also very insightful. And I think if we get to have another one of those, he's probably going to receive another message that nobody else sees. Because to me, it feels very much like Amelia and the Skulls from the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. It's like they're there, nobody else gets the message except the person that's supposed to get the message. So then that begs the question, why is he the only one getting these messages? And I'm hoping in the next week we get to get at least a step closer to figuring out why.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I'm looking forward to seeing his level of control being gained. I think that's what we're going to see in the next few chapters because we're kind of getting heavy into the classwork. And I kind of am looking forward to seeing him harness the control over his magic because I think he's far more powerful than he thinks he is. And I think that the things that the other students work towards, he might find comes to him quite easily. And I'm looking forward to that because he mentioned several times that he maintained straight A's, that he maintained a good GPA so that he could justify emancipating himself, which means he knows how to put in the work when he needs to or wants to, when he has a goal in mind. And I think that background in academic excellence is going to help him catch up and get on board with where he should be control wise faster than I think even he realizes. And I'm hoping that that's what we see in the next coming chapters. Because I'd like to see that, as well as, learning about the people around him and the things that Cam said. I fully think that we're going to see a lot of that as well. But I think I'd also like to see his control develop.
Agreed. In that same vein, I'm curious to see if Alexis and Malik's reunion will develop into a partnership, or will their goals, Alexis's activism and Malik's determination to find out about his mother's past, will the pursuit of those put them at odds? I'm also curious to see if Tay and his medical needs, whether or not his presence and his vulnerability with having diabetes, if that will pull Malik back into a conflict between his old life and his destiny at Cayman. Mom, what you think? Any predictions?
I'm in agreement with the harnessing of the powers. I think it's going to get to learn that. We're going to get some good character development coming up in the next couple of chapters. I feel like brother don't get a little insight into the Bane magic to try to find out what drew his mother, because I'm pretty sure he's going to find out. Like Mama Aya said, they fell out because she was practicing that stuff on the campus and she wasn't supposed to. I feel like he's going to delve over into figuring out what that is to see what attracted her to it. And I also feel like there's a possibility, small, but I'm hoping we're gonna find out who his dad is and how he played into, if anything, if dad was even significant or not, and how he played into it. And because Mama Aya, even though she can't read her daughter no more, and she don't think she dead, I think if he dwells off into that Bane magic, he gonna find out what happened to his mama and that other person that wasn't there dead at the scene. Cause let's call it what it is. It was 5 folk up in that room, only 3 dead bodies, and nobody could give a confirmation without a shadow of a doubt that one of them bodies was his mama. They assumed it was. So I think that light is gonna come. I'm just.
What if the other one was his daddy?
It could be, or it could be that, like we said, in those notes where she was reaching out to, I need your help kind of situations. Like I said, if whoever she was reaching out to, I'm pretty sure that was the baby daddy, which is probably why she reached out to him in the first place, because that's who she was intimate with, and he probably knew what she was getting into. But I feel like whoever that was is going to be revealed, and he may even get to the point where he questions them and finds out what it was she was actually doing to get her caught up in that. Because if that happens, that's going to spring off into a whole nother set of questioning that he's going to be looking to find answers for. Because right now he's just still trying to find out about his mama. And they didn't really go in deep into what she was doing, is that other than that she was doing something. And she was highly regarded, and all of that. She was put on a pedestal for her abilities and her intellect and all of that. So he's trying to find out who she was as an individual, because he had no insight. Which brings me to my question, and I want y'all to think about this. My question is, why did his mom keep her magic from him, his culture, and her family? Why do you think that is?
I mean, by that logic, we could say, why do most parents lie to their kids and withhold things from their kids? Because they're under the impression it's the best way to protect them, or because they have some unaddressed shame about it.
That's a bag that we do not need to open on the chat.
No, not given our current life experience, but you go ahead and do, yeah, that's my.
But that was the question that was ringing in the back of my head, because to me it would have made sense for her to enlighten her son as to, even if she was still mad at her mom when she left for whatever reason, to let him know, baby, you're a little different than everybody else. You may come across and have some, kind of like when the mothers have to talk with the girls about your menstrual cycle coming on. You're a little different. This is why girls and boys are different. Women go through this. And you know what I'm saying? So they don't go into detail until they have to, but they give you the little prerequisite to let you know you a little bit different than most. So at least he's not completely in the dark. And somewhere in the back of my mind, and I get Mama Aya saying they didn't see eye to eye, and that, but it was because Mama Aya knew she was doing something she wasn't supposed to do, and she didn't want to hear it, and she just had to snatch her baby and leave. And it was but see, and I guess that's what I was concerned about, because is the thing she wasn't supposed to do, was it the mating with the boy's daddy, or was it the Bane magic? Is that, which one did Mama Aya get mad about? Because you got to remember, he was still an infant when she snatched him up out the house.
Yeah, it's a valid question, Mom. And like I said, maybe a little bit of column A, maybe a little bit of column B. I mean, we won't know until we keep reading.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Same, same. But yeah, people be lying to their kids, man.
Mm-hmm.
People be withholding information from their children,
Don't I know?
but for many, many reasons.
Many reasons.
Scratch our heads all day about that. Uh, any other questions or conclusions before I give my final remarks, y'all?
Mm-mm.
No. All right.
Go on, Mark. I'm still scratching my head.
So thus far, Malik. I gotta mute you. You gonna make me keep laughing. Okay. What was I saying? Okay, thus far, these first 10 chapters, Malik's journey has blended trauma, ancestry, power, and showing how the past haunts the present. We saw themes of chosen family values versus blood family running rampant throughout the story, with Tay anchoring Malik in loyalty and love. We find that blood ain't thicker than water in the way that they've had us to believe. We got Cayman University, which offers Malik a chance at feeling like he belongs somewhere, but it also places him directly in the path of some conflict tied to slavery, revolution, and hoodoo. This novel suggests that Malik's story ain't just about learning magic. It's about deciding what kind of man he wants to become in a world that he's not used to. A world where history, justice, and survival are all kind of woven together. I'm excited for week 2, y'all. I hope you're excited for week 2 as we cover chapters 11 through 21. God willing, hopefully I get to chapter 21. Yeah. And I see y'all next week right here on The Family Plot, where every chapter digs deep. It's the family plot. Come and see what we got. If you love mystery and fantasy, then this is the spot. It's the family plot. Come and see what we got. Follow on Instagram and YouTube and even TikTok. And